Good morning, my little Sunday morning littles. How are you this morning? I hope that you've had a great week, a nice, healthy, and safe week. And I hope that you were able to watch your Sunday school lesson last week when I introduced you to my friend Charlie. We had him on last week so you could meet him and know if you heard a little barking sound from time to time that's who it was coming from. So I hope that you were able to watch that little video last week. Today we're going to continue learning about Joseph. I love this series of lessons on Joseph. Today's lesson is not tremendously long and not very many slides with it, but when we ended last week's lesson, we said that we were going to tune in this week to see who was coming to see Joseph in the land of Egypt. Joseph, of course, was ruling over all of the storehouses where all of the grain was stored to help the country get through the famine. And the title of our lesson today is called A Famine in the Land. And if you look at the picture, you're going to see that a famine is definitely a time when there's no crops growing for food and things are just, that looks like a big field of just dead crops. No food there whatsoever. And we talked about how people starve in famines in our lesson last week. So we're going to pick up this week with the famine, and it comes from Genesis chapter 42, verses 1 through 25. And that's what we're covering today, okay? So take a really good look at that picture, and you can see just how barren the land was, okay? All right. So, we're going to begin by reading a little bit about Jacob this time. Now, let's kind of refresh our memory on Jacob. Jacob was Joseph's father. He was the father of all those sons. And if you remember, Jacob always thought of Joseph as his favorite son. But Joseph's brothers, of course, did something that was very unkind to him, and Jacob has always been very sad because he thought he lost his son Joseph, and still thinks that right now. During this famine, Jacob's home they were having a famine in that land as well too, and he didn't have a lot of things to eat there in his home to feed his sons and his family. And so Jacob tells his sons to go down and buy grain for us that we may live and not die. Jacob had heard that in the land of Egypt they were selling grain, and the people that were being affected by this famine were needing that grain. So 10 of Jacob's sons prepared to go down into Egypt to buy the grain. Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with them, for he feared that harm would come to him. Now we're going to stop right there and think, he had, in his mind, he thought he had lost Joseph. He got that coat of many colors with the blood on it, and he thought Joseph was dead. So now the youngest son that he has is Benjamin. And he doesn't want to send Benjamin with all the other brothers. He feared for Benjamin's life. He'd already lost one son, and he didn't want to lose another one. So Jacob decided that Benjamin could not go. All the other brothers were to go down to buy grain. When Joseph's brothers reached Egypt, there were many other people there seeking to buy grain. So the whole land is in this famine. And I know that in this picture, it doesn't look like a lot of people in this picture, but it was. There were a lot of people in the land of Egypt trying to buy grain. Okay? Right. So Joseph's brothers go in to the royal area where he was, and they had to appear before him and ask to buy grain. So when they reached Egypt, you can see in this picture, they went into that royal area and they bowed before Joseph. And when Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them. So that means that when Joseph saw, here's Joseph, and when he saw all of his brothers, he knew who they were. Matter of fact, this scroll looks like it's falling off the table, and he looks a little surprised because he knew who his brothers were. He had not forgotten what they looked like. But the brothers did not recognize Joseph. Now, why would you think that they would not recognize Joseph? Does he probably look a little different than he did whenever they put him in that pit? Because that was the last time they had saw him. Yes, he's grown up some, but he's dressed in royal attire now. He looks a whole lot different. He is second in command to none other than Pharaoh. So his brothers, when they went in and bowed before him, they had no idea that that was their brother. No idea. They bowed before him, and Joseph said to them, "Where do you come from?" And so the brothers answered him and told Joseph that they came from the land of Canaan, and that in Canaan there was a big famine, and they were wanting to buy grain from him so that their family could live. When Joseph heard that, he accused them of being spies. And they replied, "Oh no, my lord, we are not spies." So at this moment, Joseph knows who they are. Why would you think he would accuse them of being spies? Have you ever accused your brothers or sisters of something that they weren't, or accused them of doing something that they didn't do? And so the brothers, they told him, "Oh no, we're not spies." And they began to tell him that they were all brothers, and they were the sons of a man named Jacob, and that their father was getting older, and the father did not want to had lost a son and did not want to lose another son, and he had kept one of the brothers at home with him. They were telling Joseph all this, and Joseph already knew the things that they were telling him. Joseph, after they had spoken, threw his brothers into prison and told them that they would not be able to leave the land unless their younger brother came down. Joseph's brothers began to realize that they were paying for the unkind thoughts and actions that they had against their brother long ago. When Joseph demands that their younger brother come down, the brothers start to realize that the things that they did in the past were beginning to come back to them. They started to realize how wrong it was as to what that they had done to their brother Joseph. Although they don't realize this is Joseph, they don't see that, but they're starting to realize, oh my goodness, this is befalling upon us because of the things that we did to our younger brother quite a while back. Yeah. Now, I want you to first of all look at this picture, because this is a picture of one of Joseph's dreams. And if we go all the way back to the beginning of these lessons, we know the first lesson was called Joseph the Dreamer. And he dreamed dreams, and in every one of his dreams, things were bowing down to him. And his brothers had to bow down to him, if you remember. They had to bow down to him when they first came into the royal area there to try to buy the grain. Joseph remembers his dreams that he had when he was younger, and he has to go and weep and cry because he really loves his brothers and his father, and he really misses them. But at this time, right now, he sees no other way other than to kind of cause them to think about what they did in times back. Now, when you think about it, it's really not Joseph causing them to think about the things that they done. That's really God's way of convicting them, right? God's just using Joseph to convict them for the wrong that they had done, right? So Joseph orders his brother Simon to be bound and kept in Egypt while his other brothers return to Jacob, their father. They have been ordered to bring their youngest brother, whose name is Benjamin, back with them to prove they are who they say that they are. Okay, so Joseph has agreed. He's going to fill their sacks full of grain, and he's going to send them back to their home. But they have to come back with Benjamin. They have to bring Benjamin, the youngest one. They've got to bring him back in order for their brother Simon to be released from prison. So Joseph kind of has a way of tricking them, but yet giving them what they needed to get back home, but still yet tricking them into bringing the youngest brother back with them. Okay? All right. Now their brothers are doing exactly what they're being told because they have that conviction of what they did to their youngest brother a long time ago. And now they don't want either one of their brothers, Simon or Benjamin, to be hurt or to be killed or anything to happen to them. So the conviction and the sorrow for what they had done years ago is starting to really kick in to his brothers. So Joseph ordered that their sacks be filled, and their sacks were filled, and they were loaded onto the donkey or to the donkeys to be taken back to their land. But the brothers did not know, he did not realize that out of the kindness of Joseph's heart, he ordered that the money that they had given for the grain to be put back into the sacks. So when they got back to their homeland and they opened up their sacks, they not only had grain, but they had the money that they were supposed to pay for it. He was giving it to them. Grain and their money back. Wow. Now that would really, really, really be hard for me to do sometimes. If someone had done me wrong, that would be really hard for me to do, to kind of give back twofold to someone. Yeah. Now, could you have done what Joseph done? Could you have been that kind maybe? He wasn't, there were some things about what he was doing that wasn't kind. I mean, throwing someone in prison is not kind. But Joseph had the ability to turn them away and say, no, you get no food. But he didn't even do that. Okay. Would you give your brothers a second chance, or would you just want to wring their necks? Think about that. Remember back to the beginning of our lessons on Joseph, and I challenged you to be kind to your brothers and sisters. Sometimes it's hard to be kind and show mercy, even to a friend or someone that you don't even know. And that is hard. That's very hard. I want you to tune in next week to see if Jacob allows Benjamin to come to Egypt like Joseph has ordered. Now remember, Jacob did not allow him to go on that first trip because he feared that harm would come to him. I wonder if Jacob is going to agree to this. Tune in next week to see, littles, okay? I hope you have an amazing, amazing week.